History is full of unbelievable events and strange facts. From unusual laws to natural disasters, let's dive into some of the most intriguing, shocking, and curious stories history has to offer. The Anglo-Zanzibar War. First, let's talk about the shortest war in recorded history. On August 27, 1896, the Anglo-Zanzibar War began. It lasted just 38 minutes, shorter than a typical TV show episode. The conflict ignited when the Sultan of Zanzibar died, and his successor, whom the British didn't support, took the throne. Despite attempts to negotiate, the British ultimately decided on a military solution. They unleashed a naval bombardment on the palace, quickly overwhelming the Sultan's forces. After just over half an hour, the battle was over, marking a decisive British victory and leaving the world with the briefest war on record. The Mongol Empire. The Mongol Empire, led by the legendary Genghis Khan, was the largest contiguous empire the world has ever known. Formed in the early 13th century, the empire stretched from the Pacific Ocean to Europe, covering almost 9 million square miles. The Mongols were exceptional horsemen and used swift, brutal tactics to conquer vast territories. Despite their fearsome reputation, the Mongols also established trade routes and fostered communication across continents. The empire eventually fractured, but its influence reshaped Asia and set the stage for future empires to follow. Wepet Renpet, the Egyptian New Year. Ancient Egypt's Wepet Renpet, or the Opener of the Year, was an annual festival that marked the start of the new year. This celebration coincided with the Nile River's annual flooding, which brought fertile soil and was crucial for farming. Each July, the Egyptians held feasts, danced, and performed rituals to honor their gods and welcome prosperity. Wepet Renpet wasn't just a celebration. It was deeply tied to Egypt's agricultural calendar and their religious beliefs, symbolizing rebirth and new beginnings. Caligula and his horse. The Roman Emperor Caligula was infamous for his eccentric behavior, and perhaps one of his strangest acts was appointing his favorite horse, Incitatus, as a senator. It's debated whether he intended this as a satire to insult the Senate, or if he truly believed his horse was worthy of the honor. Caligula's reign was short, marked by erratic behavior, and ended in his assassination. His legacy as one of Rome's most notorious emperors lives on, and so does the bizarre story of Incitatus, the senator. King Henry VIII's hygiene habits. King Henry VIII of England had many peculiarities, and perhaps none were more unique than his grooms of the stool. These men were tasked with one job: to monitor and assist with the king's bowel movements. In fact, they were responsible for keeping records of Henry's digestion and even helping him clean up. This role was both intimate and prestigious, as those closest to the king were trusted advisors. While the job might sound unpleasant today, it was a position of honor in Henry's court, demonstrating how differently royal power was expressed in the Tudor era. British tanks and tea-making equipment. In a uniquely British twist, all British tanks since 1945 have come equipped with tea-making facilities. During World War II, British soldiers on the front lines often lacked safe, reliable ways to brew tea. The Army responded by designing tanks with a boiling vessel, allowing soldiers to make tea under almost any conditions. Known as a BV, boiling vessel, this small but significant addition reflects Britain's love for tea. Even in the heat of battle, they weren't willing to miss out on a good cup. Tug of war as an Olympic event. Believe it or not, tug of war was once an Olympic sport. Between 1900 and 1920, teams from around the world competed in this intense test of strength at the Summer Games. The sport was serious business. Countries sent their best teams and medals were awarded just as with any other event. Eventually, tug of war was dropped, but its time as an Olympic event remains a quirky reminder of how much the Games have changed over the years. Pope Gregory IX and the Black Cat Purge. In medieval Europe, cats were common companions, thought to be brought from Egypt to Europe by the Romans. But things took a dark turn in the 1320s. Pope Gregory IX issued a papal bull known as Vox in Rama, which condemned black cats as instruments of the devil. This edict led to a widespread purge of black cats, especially in Germany and France, where cats were seen as symbols of witchcraft. Unfortunately, this cat purge may have led to unintended consequences. With fewer cats to control rodent populations, the spread of the Black Plague soon followed. Gregory's decree reminds us of the power of superstition in history and the role animals play in our lives. Krakatoa and the loudest sound in history. On August 27, 1883, the volcanic eruption of Krakatoa in Indonesia produced the loudest sound ever recorded. The explosion was so intense that it ruptured eardrums 40 miles away and registered at 172 decibels from 100 miles. This terrifying blast was heard across continents and sent shock waves that circled the globe 4 times. The eruption not only devastated the island, but created tsunamis and changed global weather patterns for years. Krakatoa's explosion serves as a reminder of nature's immense and sometimes terrifying power. The dead jockey who won a horse race. One of the most bizarre sporting events took place in 1923 at Belmont Park in New York. Jockey Frank Hayes was racing as a 20-to-1 outsider when he suffered a fatal heart attack mid-race. Miraculously, Hayes's body stayed in the saddle as his horse crossed the finish line first, making him the only jockey to win a race while deceased. Though tragic, this unusual event left a lasting mark in the world of horse racing, remembered as both a victory and a tragedy. Ching Shih, the pirate queen of China. One of the most feared and successful pirates in history was actually a Chinese woman named Ching Shih. Originally a prostitute, she married a pirate captain and, after his death, took over his fleet. At her peak, Ching Shih commanded over 1,500 ships and 80,000 sailors. She set strict rules and harsh penalties to maintain order and discipline, making her one of the most respected pirates on the seas. Her legendary career ended on her terms. She negotiated amnesty from the Chinese government and retired comfortably. A true rarity, Ching Shih remains an icon of power and resilience. The Great Emu War, Australia versus emus. In 1932, Australia found itself battling an unusual enemy, emus. The Great Emu War was launched when large numbers of these flightless birds started devastating farmland in Western Australia. The military deployed soldiers armed with machine guns to reduce the emu population, but the emus proved surprisingly resilient. The birds outsmarted the soldiers, dodging bullets and scattering in unpredictable patterns. After several failed attempts, the war was called off. The emus had effectively won, leaving Australia with a unique and humorous chapter in its military history. Cleopatra was not Egyptian. While Cleopatra is one of the most famous figures in Egyptian history, she wasn't actually Egyptian. Cleopatra VII, the last pharaoh of Egypt, was of Macedonian Greek descent, a member of the Ptolemaic dynasty founded by one of Alexander the Great's generals. Despite her heritage, Cleopatra fully embraced Egyptian culture, learning the language and adopting Egyptian religious practices. Known for her intelligence, charm, and political acumen, she was one of history's most remarkable rulers, blending 2 cultures and leaving an unforgettable legacy. The exploding whale of Oregon. In 1970, Oregon faced a peculiar problem. A massive dead whale had washed up on the beach, and it began to rot. Local authorities decided the best solution was to blow it up with dynamite, hoping smaller pieces would be easier to manage. But the explosion was far more intense than expected, scattering enormous whale chunks over a wide area, even smashing a car parked a quarter-mile away. The incident became infamous and a lasting reminder of unconventional problem-solving gone awry, now known as the Exploding Whale Incident. Peter the Great's beard tax. The incident became infamous and a lasting reminder of unconventional problem-solving gone awry, now known as the Exploding Whale Incident. To enforce this, he imposed a beard tax on his citizens, requiring men who wished to keep their beards to pay a fee. Those who paid were given a token to carry as proof of payment. Peter believed clean-shaven faces would help bring Russia closer to Western Europe, and his beard tax is one of the most unique and strictest fashion mandates in history. History is full of strange stories like these, tales of unusual traditions, natural phenomena, and eccentric rulers. These events remind us that the past is often as fascinating as it is bewildering. Thanks for watching, and remember to stay curious about the strange and wondrous moments that have shaped our world. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this